Welcome to episode 19 of Life Without Cravings. So, in today's episode, I will dig into how you can get back on track when you are off on a binge. And I'll give you a few things that you can consider, and I'm going to give you 9 actions that you can take to make it easy for you to get back on track. Okay, so let's face reality. When you are stuck in a binge, it can be really hard to see that there is a way out of the binge. And sometimes we just need to let it run its course for a bit, because we are in a place where we're not able to actually do something about it. And that's okay. Don't think that you're doing anything wrong, right? So when you are stuck here, just remember that there will be a way of getting out of this. There's always a way of you getting out of the binge. And it will happen. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but when you're ready to make the decision to make it happen, that's when it can happen. So I remember when I used to do this. I used to fall off the wagon, and I used to obviously binge on carbs, and I used to think that I just need this and that and the other thing and whatever. I just need to eat those things, then I will be done, and I'm going to be magically ready to stop again. But when I had done all of those carbs and I had got all of those cravings that I had satisfied, because we can't ever satisfy them, they will just come back, I would somehow think that when that has happened, I'm going to be in this state of having peace of mind and be able to just do it, which obviously never happened. As soon as I had finished those carbs, I would still have cravings. I still wouldn't be in a headspace that was healthy for me and where I had peace of mind, where I could focus. I would still want more. Even if I don't necessarily know exactly what it is that I'm craving, I would still have those cravings and I would still want it to eat more carbs. So I would keep telling myself that I'll just start tomorrow, or I will start once I've eaten all the carbs that I have in the house, or after the weekend, or after my birthday, or after whatever. It's always after something has happened. As if I'm at some point going to run out of excuses and magically be ready. Listen, this is not going to happen. You're never going to be ready. It's never going to be something external that is going to make you ready to stop it. What is going to make you ready is you making the decision. So no matter how long you're waiting, you're going to have to make the decision to do it, even if you're not ready. So that's where the place you want to get to. Because you're not going to get to the place of being ready. You're going to have to get to the place of, I'm going to make it happen even if I'm not ready. So if you haven't made a decision, it's not going to happen. So the very first thing that you want to do is just to make the decision. Without it, you are going to fail. And you might notice that just thinking about making this decision to quit is making you feel really uneasy or anxious. So here's what I want you to think about. I'm going to bring up a few things that you might want to have a ponder about and just explore a little bit to see what's behind that. You might want to ask yourself, like, why is it that I feel such resistance to committing to quitting? And have a really good think about it. Don't avoid doing this if you feel any sort of resistance against it, because it will give you a lot of information that is super handy for you to have. And when it comes to it, what you will notice is that all the resistance that you feel is usually born from an unwillingness to feel negative emotions. So you are unwilling to feel the cravings, so you make them go away by eating. It's a really simple solution and it works every single time. The problem is that the cravings are coming back, so you're going to have to keep doing this. And that is what it is to be addicted. That the only way to stop the cravings is to give in to them. We cannot stop the cravings any other way. We might be able to make them less intense, we might be able to shift them a little bit, but they're not going to go away, because that is part of our physiology. It's part of everyone's physiology, and those of us who identify as carb addicted people, or people with carb addicted brains, I like to say, we just have brains that are really efficient at doing that stuff, and that's fine. We can still deal with it. So you might be also unwilling to feel other negative emotions. It could be anxiety, it could be fear. Maybe you're even trying to avoid feeling happy, because some people can't handle feeling happy. But you might just be stressed or bored or like any other emotion. So if you eat to avoid feeling those emotions, you need to have a think about this. And you need to be willing to just feel those emotions, because that is the way through. That is the only way that you can overcome this. And it works when we're just eating something, but it doesn't solve the problem. So when we eat something to avoid those emotions, it's just going to work for a very short period of time while you're eating it, and maybe a little bit of a delay after, but then you're going to feel even worse. So now you have both the emotions that you try to avoid, they're going to come back because they're not going away, and you're going to feel regret over having eaten even though you didn't really want to do that and given into cravings. So now you have double the suffering. No matter what you do, you're always going to have to feel bad in some way. So the question then is, like, do you want to feel bad in order to feel great in a few weeks? Or do you want to keep escaping those emotions? You're still going to have to feel bad. You're going to feel bad ongoingly on a daily basis, but you're going to get a hint of relief every time you have those carbs. Which one do you choose? I know which one I'm choosing. That's why I haven't touched any sugar for a very long period of time. You always get to choose, but knowing that you will always have to feel bad in some way, there is no escaping these emotions. They're always going to be there. Do you want it? Or do you want to continue doing it and eating the carbs? Or do you rather want to do it and then achieve something that you really want? It's like you do have to feel negative emotions no matter what you do, but at the end of one of the roads is a reward. The other one might feel slightly better right now for a short period of time, but then you're going to have to feel miserable again right after. For me, it's a no-brainer, but you might not be ready yet. That's up to you to decide. If you do decide that you want to feel these negative emotions while doing something that you really want, which is learning how to quit, which by the way is the only way to break through successfully and sustainably, you will need a little bit of clarity. So let's have a look at when you are in binge mode, when you're right in the binge and you want to stop. Most of us will think that because all we actually have to do is just stop eating and maybe stop buying this stuff, that is something that we should be able to do straight away. We should be able to go from a full-on binge to full-on abstinence. And that's very rarely the case for most people. And we also think that because moderating hasn't worked in the past, that's not an option. So we set these really high expectations of ourselves, and we often create this all or nothing mentality, which is super unhelpful, by the way. Things aren't just black and white. There is a gray zone, and we might want to use that gray zone when we start quitting. You will still have conflicting thoughts, like thoughts of wanting to quit and thoughts of not wanting to quit, because there are benefits to both of them, clearly. And depending on what type of person you are, going full abstinence might work for you. And if it doesn't, consider just being really kind to yourself and allow yourself to go slow. We're not in a hurry. Like once you've done it, if you do it properly, you're not going to have to do it again. If you do it properly, this might be the last time you have to go through this process. But if you're trying to rush, you're more likely to mess it up. So you need to prepare yourself mentally for what you're going to do. And here are the 9 things that you might want to do that will make it a lot easier for you to go through this process. You don't have to do all 9 of them. You can pick and choose. Some of them might resonate with you, some of them might not. So just pick whatever feels like it would help you. So number 1, just gonna have a sip of tea. Number 1, figure out why it is that you want to quit, and remind yourself daily of why it's important to you, this reason that you have, why is it important to you? And do it from a place of desiring something different, not running away from something that you don't want. Run towards something that you do want. And make sure that it's something that you feel really strongly about. I'm not talking about, yeah, I want to lose weight. That's never going to motivate you. But a whole life transformation, a change in how you feel about life. Finding that zest for life, whatever it is that makes you feel really alive and motivated to do things. What is it that really motivates you? And number 2, you need to believe that you can do it. And this might sound like, if I don't believe I can do it, how am I going to change that? It's possible. If you don't believe it, you're never going to make it. That's like set in stone. If you don't believe that you can do it, you won't be able to do it. So if you don't quite believe yet, make sure that you can at least believe that there is a possibility that you would be able to do it. Listen to or watch something motivational to just get you in the right headspace. Talk to people who have done it. Surround yourself with evidence for why it can work for you as well. And start thinking about it. If another human being has done it, you also have a human brain like they do, you will be able to do it. There is a way for you to learn how to do it, and you can just commit to figuring it out. And I have solutions in my videos, and in my challenges, in my Facebook group. The solution is there, you just need to take it and use it. And number 3, visualize yourself doing it in detail. So visualize what you will do when the cravings hit, how that's going to feel, what you're going to think in those moments. And don't do it with the rose-colored glasses on. Just visualize this actually being a struggle and how you're going to feel, and how maybe you could shift that thinking a little bit to feel differently when this is happening. So what are you going to do? How are you going to feel when the ice cream that is sitting in the freezer is calling your name? How are you going to handle that? Just have a plan and practice that plan in your head. Your mind is not going to know the difference between you actually having done it and you visualizing it, especially when you put a lot of details in and couple it with emotions. So the more detailed you can be, the better. Number 4. For some people, making the decision to do something like a fast, maybe just a 24-hour, maybe a 72-hour fast, or whatever length it is a great way for them to just break this binging behavior and kind of cut it off and start again. So once they're done with the fast, most of the withdrawal symptoms are usually gone. So if this is something that would work for you, that's something that you can absolutely do. For me, it's the opposite. This would never work for me. If I've been on a carb binge, I'm going to be so hungry right after for a few days that this is never going to work for me. So that leads me into number 5, which is the opposite. Just allow yourself to eat as much as you like until you have stabilized and that hunger is gone and your blood sugar is back to normal, or everything has stabilized. So I just allow myself to eat as much as I like until the hunger is gone, which is usually in a couple of days. And I'm talking about eating as much as I like and as often as I like, of all the foods that are foods on my eating plan. So if a food is considered to be part of my normal diet, I don't have any restrictions on it. It's just like my own buffet, if you like. I can eat buffet for a couple of days or however long it takes. Even if that means that I'm eating 10 times per day for 2 days straight, that's fine with me. I just allow myself to do it, and that way I am just stuffing myself with nutrient-dense foods, because everything that is on my normal eating plan are healthy foods that have a lot of nutritional value. So I'm telling my body that there is nothing to be scared of here. We have plenty of energy, we have plenty of nutrition. You can calm the F down and just relax. After a couple of days of doing this, I'm generally not feeling for eating much anymore. I'm like, I'm done. My body's just saying, hey, we had enough food, we're done now. And we don't have those kind of cravings, the hormonal cravings and the carb cravings that comes from doing that. We still have the emotional bit to deal with, but this really helps calming it down when you're trying to break the cycle and when you're trying to get into a different energy supply. So going from a carb burner to a fat burner, this can be a nice break. And number 6, I want to bring up journaling. So what you can do here that is really helpful is that every morning or evening, if you like, whatever you want, do a brain dump every day and look at all the unhelpful thoughts and beliefs that you have about your ability to quit. And then start questioning them. So you write it down, you have a look at it, you might underline all the unhelpful thoughts that you have so that you can easily pick them out. And then question whether they are actually true. Most of the time they're not. Sometimes we think things are true that aren't. So question them again. If you think this one's true, probably isn't. And then write down a few helpful thoughts that are true and just focus on these. So turn them into affirmations if you like. But start just redirecting your brain from unhelpful thoughts to helpful thoughts. And make that a daily habit. Because when you do that every day, you're going to see a lot of these unhelpful thoughts are going to come up over and over again. But when they do, you know that they're not true. And you can just redirect your brain to something that is true. And number 7. This one is funny. Practice taking responsibility for your results. And you're going to be like, what? I don't like that thought. I don't like that idea. But this is really useful. Let's say we decide that you are never allowed to say that you don't know or you can't do something. If you're never allowed to say that you don't know how to or that you can't do something, what would happen then? How would that change things for you? So whenever you think it's too hard, you just stop yourself and rephrase that sentence in your head. Because you can't say that it's too hard, because too hard literally means that you can't do it, that it's impossible. You can think to yourself that it's hard, but it's actually possible, it is doable, and add a little bit extra on the back end of that. And I can do hard things. Because all of us can do hard things when we really want to do something. So if it's hard, but doable, you can do it. If it's too hard, it means it's impossible. And we're not allowed to say that anymore. So this might just shift everything for you. For some people it does. And number 8, I want to bring up visualization again, but in a different sense this time. So visualize what your life could look like if you actually succeeded with this long term. How would your whole life change for the better if you stop binging? And is that something that you want more than the binging? Hopefully you do. So take the time to really think about what it could be like and dare dream a little bit. So often we don't dare dreaming. But please do, because these things are possible when you're actually sticking with it long term. So just kind of go into the future and think, what would my life be like if I didn't binge anymore, if I stuck with my eating plan? How would things change for you? And number 9. This one, take this with a grain of salt, because for some people, this might turn into something that you might not want to do. So I'm going to explain. We call it a habit sandwich. And that could be a really good way for you to start slow if you want, and start bringing awareness to what is happening. Some of us don't like that awareness, and we don't even want to look at what is happening. So if you need to do this, this is a very good way of doing it. So a habit sandwich is, for example, you sit with a craving the way that I'm teaching you to do it. you fail, and then you couple it with something that is beneficial for you and moves you forward towards your goal. So that could be, let's say, you're sitting with a craving and you're just feeling it. And on the occasions when you still fail and you go and eat those carbs, you always pair it with something that's beneficial. So that might be, if I fail, I'm going to do 20 burpees, 20 squats, and 20 push-ups. Now, be a little bit careful with this, because we don't want to teach our brain that we need to eat those carbs to be able to do these exercises. Because your brain might want to interpret it this way, and we don't want to do that. It's not going to happen very quickly, but it can happen. So if you use this technique, only use it short time while you're still focusing on learning how to sit with the cravings. So don't make this a permanent solution. Just use it as one of the tools that you can use to actually get started and building awareness. And you don't have to pair it with the same habits, like the 20-20-20, for example. You don't have to pair with that every time. Sometimes you might want to pair it with something else. You can break it up that way and make it less likely that your brain is going to connect the two forever. So this is basically how you do it. You get your headspace sorted out. You know why you want to do it. You have a plan, and you know what it will look like when you're doing it. Right? You need to know what it's going to look like, what it is that you're going to do. You need to really know all the details about it. And you want to prepare yourself to just be able to feel those emotions. Like, whatever comes up, I'm going to feel it. That is part of the process, so I'm going to accept that that's going to be there, and I'm going to do it. Now, if you want help to get all of these pieces in place and just make sure that you get the results that you want quickly, rather than dragging it out, I can help you with that. If you're willing to put the work in and follow a program that has been proven to work over and over again, consider joining my group, Quitting for the Last Time, which is literally what we're doing. We're quitting for the last time. You don't have to do it again, because you're going to learn everything that you need to know and practice it enough times so that you never have to think about it again. If you want to do that, you can find all the details at pimjansson.com/group. You can go and check that out. You can also sign up there. Or if you want more hand-holding and someone to guide you through every step of the process, just send me an email at pim@pimjansson.com. We can get together, have a chat about it, what it will look like to work with me, and then you can decide if that's for you or not. You will find all the contact details down in the show notes as well, if you haven't written them down. And that was literally all I had for you today. So until next week, go figure out what it is that you really want, make it a priority, and make the decision that you want to make. I'll see you then. Bye.